Again? Just where are you going?
Where are you going? You're not going to the bar again, are you?
You like hanging out, drinking beer at the bar, talking sports? Come on out and join us weekly. Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, your podcast for just that. Hanging out, drinking some beer, talking sports. Hey guys, it's your boy Hanger here, and I wanted to put together a show for you guys this week, like we've been doing it every single week for the last 3 months or so. And without having the ability to go to a bar, I was just trying to think about some ways that we could put together a show for you. And what I came up with was just to have everyone share their stories about their favorite sporting events. So I reached out to some of our listeners, I reached out to some of our fans and some of our other hosts as well, and they sent me a little story, just a little 3-minute clip about maybe what their favorite sporting event was or some memorable moment in sports. And I thought it was great to get some of their views and points of views and stuff. If you notice any choppiness in the narratives, a lot of times it was just the way that I was trying to edit the stuff together as well. So I apologize for that. I am not an expert in editing, so that is why you'll see a little bit of choppiness in the editing that I did. But I hope you enjoy it. If you guys ever want to be on the show, you can do that as well. Just send me a clip of your favorite, just 3 minutes about a great memory that you might have had at a sporting event, all right? And if you want to do that, that's phenomenal, but that's what you'll be hearing today from several of our hosts as well as several of our fans as well. And I hope you enjoy it, all right? But that's what we got for you this week. Trying to practice a little social distancing. I've been drinking my Guinness, so I'm still guy at the bar, but not the guy at the bar. Guy pretending he's at the bar talking sports, I guess. And I know everyone else is feeling the same way as well. But everyone stay safe out there. And this is some of the best sporting events that some of our listeners and some of our hosts have gone to, all right? Enjoy.
Got a couple of great memories of the 49ers, but I'll just share one with you right now. I have a friend whose husband was the equipment manager for the St. Louis Rams for many, many years, just retired last year after over 30 years. So when they came to play the San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Park on December 27th, 1998, and she asked if I wanted to meet her there, she would get me tickets. I said, sure. She said, one caveat. I couldn't cheer for the Niners because my seat was with the Rams' wives. So I thought, how hard can that be, right? Well, it turned out to be really hard because the Rams were eyeing the playoffs, and this was the last game for the regular season. Jerry Rice was on the team with Steve Young playing well. T.O. was in his prime. It turned out to be a great game, and I even got to see Steve Young throw a touchdown pass to Jerry Rice, which turned out to be one of the last ones for the duo since Steve retired after that season. The Niners won 38-19, so I quietly celebrated, even getting ribbed by my friend sitting next to me. But then Heather asked if I wanted to go down to the tunnel and watch the players walk to the locker room. Heck yes. We got to walk across the field, and then we went down to the tunnel to wait. It was a super cool moment when the teams came through, and we got to cheer loudly for them. We even got to high-five quite a few of them, which was an even better memory, one that I'll never forget. And I thank Heather to this day for such a great opportunity.
So, hi guys. We'll just call me James. My favorite sports memory that doesn't have anything to do with my children is actually two memories, but they're rolled into one, so I'm hoping you'll indulge me. It is the University of South Carolina's back-to-back College World Series championships in 2010 and 2011. I am a huge baseball fan, played softball and baseball most of my life. So, and a big Carolina fan, Carolina grad, so that was very exciting. 2010, Whit Merrifield hitting a single, driving in the game-winning run in the bottom of the 11th, I believe it was. I do know it was 1-something in the morning, and I cried like a baby. That was the last bat at the Blatt. Thank you very much. Next year I was at TD Ameritrade. And the next year I was it cut me off in a minute, so I'll keep going. Next year, I was pregnant, and my youngest son was born on June 27th, 2011, which was the first game of the final series of the College World Series, and he was in the NICU and having a little trouble breathing. So game 1, I watched on a screen in the NICU, and game 2, I watched in my room with about 6 nurses who all wanted to watch the game with me, and my husband on speakerphone, and my baby in my lap. And he is now Tanner in honor of USC's back-to-back wins. Thanks, guys. Stay well.
It is April 10, 1998. I was there at the Qualcomm Stadium, San Diego. Now, just to set the record straight, I am a Bronx, New York native. I've been a New York Yankees fan since my first breath. But I went to California on vacation that year, and as a baseball fan, I couldn't pass the chance to go to the local park. I got front seats of the third base given to me by my uncle, who was a Border Patrol agent in California at the time. The D-backs from Arizona versus the hometown San Diego Padres were playing. The D-backs were winning that game 4-2 at the bottom of the ninth. And then again, I don't have any horrors on the race. I'm just there to just watch a game. But very, very rarely you get to see a game like this where the home team is against the ropes and it is up to the last man standing to save your team from a loss, right? It's the perfect scenario for a miracle. So the whole inning was leading up to that moment, and it was very intense. Felix Rodriguez was at the pitching mound, and he has bases loaded. The Padres will have to score at least 3 runs to win the game. They even play that song from Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero. So they were playing that song all over the PA system as loud as they could. So the moment had that movie-like feeling, right? Everybody's pumped, on their feet, waving their Padres hats, shirts, towels, spilling beer everywhere. And Steve Finley, their center field, steps up to the plate, and after a 0-1 count, with the bases loaded, hits the ball. His bat cracks the loudest sound you ever heard, and the ball launches off like a rocket does in Cape Canaveral on an October night. Home run, fly ball, deep right field. And as you can imagine, the park goes bananas. It's pandemonium there. Finley runs the bases. Vaughn scores. Milton scores. Vera scores. And as they doing that, they play the natural theme. The natural theme as Finley is running and still rounding the bases. And that honestly completes this moment. It happened to be fireworks night that day. So obviously they set off the fireworks right after that. I mean, it was truly a perfect baseball moment and a baseball memory for me.
What's up to the many thousands and thousands of fans and listeners of the podcast here for Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. Unfortunately, I'm at my own residence due to the coronavirus spreading about as fast as our own show here, almost as fast as our show. But this is Claw coming to you again from my own residence. Unfortunately, no Coors Light like usual. I'm just having a good old big old glass of water. I've got to teach a class coming up here soon since we've all been sent home. So let's just say I've got a glass of water, that's all. But given the task of coming up with your best games and our sporting event, I have to say it's pretty tough. As a young kid, I remember watching Kurt Angle win the gold in Atlanta for wrestling in the Olympics. Mark McGuire hitting a home run. I still don't think has landed yet. But you all know me as Claw, one of the lonely Clemson fans here on the show. I'm going to have to go with the 2017 College Football Playoff National Championship. Not only was it an awesome game, but I got to experience it with both my parents, who I'm jealous of. They've been to every single national championship that Clemson's played in, but also got to take my son and everyone else in the family, and it was just an awesome time. Like I said, awesome game. Bama went up, I think 14 to begin with, had to fight back, cut it. Hunter Renfrow had an unbelievable game, just like D. White did. And I tell people, not only did he catch the game-winning touchdown, go back and watch. He saved a touchdown very early in the third quarter to where we held him to a field goal at the 15-yard line. If it wasn't for that tackle that Hunter Renfrow made after a fumble, I can't remember if it was Gallman who fumbled it or maybe it was D. Watt. Can't remember who. But like I said, saved it, tackled the guy that had to kick a field goal. I think it might have been a different game if the Bama runs it in and scores there. But just heck of a game, heck of performance by both teams. I tell people, I kind of think with Scarborough getting hurt that year that Bama should have beat us that year, but then when we played and went out, I got to go watch them play in Phoenix the year before. You know, if you told me that what we did to Alabama out there in Phoenix, we just dominated both lines of scrimmage, I kind of feel like we should have beat them in the 16 national championship, and they win the 17. But worked out for us either way. But I'm going to have to go with that's the best one. And this is Claus signing out. Eager to hear everyone else. Stay well.
This is your boy Hanger, and I just wanted to go in and give you guys a little bit of a taste of the best football game I ever watched. It's actually a tale of two games. It was back in 1996 when Florida State played the University of Florida on November 25th, 1996, and it was a game where number 1 Florida came in to play against number 2 Florida State, and Florida State just ran all over University of Florida and ended up winning that game. Warrick Dunn put up, I think, a couple hundred yards in that game. Florida could not stop the run. I remember watching that game just thinking to myself, we're the number 1 team and we cannot even stop this guy. It just blew my mind. But Florida State ended up winning, I think it was 24-21. And Florida goes in, they dropped down to number 3. Florida State came into the number 1 position, and Arizona State goes into December being ranked number 2, but they ended up losing the Rose Bowl. So Florida has a chance in the national championship game to really be a solid national championship winner with a win against Florida State. And I did not know what they were going to do because they could not stop Warrick Dunn during that game in November. So turns out Florida comes in there, and this is the game where Danny Warfel, who was the Heisman Trophy winner that year, great quarterback. This is the year that Steve Spurrier decides to change up the quarterbacks, where every other play he takes Warfel out, puts a new quarterback in, and they just kind of threw the defense off for Florida State big time. Ends up where Florida State just could not read the offense whatsoever. And they put up, I think it was 51 points. It was the most touchdowns ever, or passing touchdowns ever done in a national championship game. I mean, it was just an amazing game for Florida. They ended up winning that game. They stopped the run. Warrick Dunn, I think he had like 88 yards that game. It was just a terrible game for him as well. Florida State could not put up points. Florida was putting up points left and right, and it just showed how great of a mind Steve Spurrier was, because nobody ever really did that thing where he just pulled one quarterback out and put a new one in every other game. That defense had no way to read it. And to me, that was the best national championship that Florida has had. It was actually the best game that I ever watched as well. It just had me so excited because I went in there with no anticipation of a win whatsoever because of the way that Florida State played against them in November. So it was just an interesting game. It was interesting 2 games because they played in November, then they got to play again in the national championship in January in the Sugar Bowl, and it was just an amazing time for me. I really enjoyed it, and that's the best game I ever watched, and been looking for a better game since then. You guys know that I'm a Florida fan, so we've had a couple other chances as well, but that was just so exciting to me.
Hey guys, it's the blonde here from Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. I was asked to recall my favorite sporting event. Now, whether you watched it or whether you attended it. I was kind of conflicted on that. So I'm going to give you one of each. As many of you have probably figured out by now, I am a Kentucky girl through and through. Went to college there. That's my alma mater. That's who I will always cheer for. But the first one I'm going to talk about is actually a West Virginia game, football. I'm originally from West Virginia, moved to South Carolina in 2010, and I believe it was the 2012 Orange Bowl, possibly? Yes, Orange Bowl. It was Clemson versus West Virginia. And I'm sure the Claw is not going to like this. It's probably a memory that he has either blocked out or never wants to talk about again. But it was the Orange Bowl, 2012. And let's see if I can remember. It was a blowout. It was West Virginia all the way. I think the final score was 70-33. Clemson was actually favored by 3.5 in that game, which made it that much more of an upset. And being originally from West Virginia, living in South Carolina, seeing all the Clemson people take such a defeat, it was pleasurable in one way, and it was also hard to watch in another way. But we were victorious, and I say we, West Virginia. It was just an awesome game for fans of West Virginia. Not so much for Clemson, but it was just a really blowout of a game that no one was expecting. And so that's why it sticks out in my mind. I think halftime may have been, I don't know, like 40-20, something like that. It was a blowout from the get-go, and one that I'll never forget. Secondly, best game I've ever witnessed in person, obviously a Kentucky game, basketball. My sister-in-law's husband is a Duke graduate, has season tickets to all the Duke basketball games, and of course there's always the Champions Classic at the start of the season. This year, it was 2015, happened to be in Chicago, one of my favorite cities, and so he gave his wife, who happens to be my sister-in-law and one of my best friends, he said, "You girls take these tickets, you go to Chicago for the weekend. It's Duke versus Kentucky in the championship, or the Champions Classic." I could not be more excited. So, of course, I'm all decked out in my UK stuff. She's all decked out in her Duke gear. And where are our tickets? Right in the middle of the Duke section. And we got to the game. Didn't start off so well. I was a little bit nervous, especially sitting where we were sitting. And then next thing I know, we took the lead, and bam, 2015, the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. Kentucky and Duke. Kentucky beat them 74-63. Here I am, again, all my Kentucky garb, sitting in the middle of all these Duke fans. And if you know me, I'm not necessarily a graceful winner or loser. I tend to let my emotions get the best of me, and I tried to act like a mature adult, but inside I could not contain my excitement. And so that's the best game I ever watched, obviously for personal reasons. Nothing particular about that game stood out other than the fact that I witnessed Kentucky beating Duke in my favorite city in the middle of Duke fans. So that's my two favorite. There's a couple others that stand out. But I'm also a jinx. Anytime, again, living in South Carolina, anytime Kentucky comes to South Carolina to play a game and I go, we lose. So not much to say about that. Other that if you're a South Carolina fan and you want to win, invite me, give me a ticket to your game. Guaranteed South Carolina win. So that's my take on it. Hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll be back soon talking sports at the bar. We miss it.
I know what you're thinking. Man, that was an amazing show. You know what you do then? You subscribe to the show. By subscribing, you'll be able to hear the show next week and every show that we come out with from here on out. And then if you really like the show, the thing that you can do is you give it a 5-star rating and review. Whatever podcast you listen to, see if you can give it a 5-star rating and review. I know you can do it on Apple iTunes. And then you know what you do? You come on back next week to hear Guys at the Bar talking sports.